you feeling tonight? I didn't know you were going to make your own song for me. So my name is Jerri Green, and I'm working hard to be the next governor of the great state of Tennessee. I see a few familiar faces. Oh, thank you, Terrell. Terrell taking care of me. Y'all give it up for Terrell. Let's give it up for Bob and Noel, too. I'm so lucky to be surrounded by such amazing people here. So, I haven't met all of you, because there's a lot of you here. Good job. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we'll do when we win this race. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we can win this race and what I'm going to need you to do to get us there. And then I'll do something that my opponents would never do. I'm going to take a couple questions. I've been here a few times. Terrell, did we say 4 times up here? 4 times up here in Northeast Tennessee. And every time I come back, I'm more and more convinced this is just a town of repressed theater kids. Somebody backstage said, do they do this in other places? No, there are no super donkeys with lightsabers in other places. I love it. I love it so much. I can't even tell y'all. So, a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, and now more than ever, in this moment in history and what this GOP supermajority is trying to do, I'm damn proud to be from Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis is an incredible town. You guys share something that Memphis has. We like to say in Memphis, when you're bad, they put you in a corner. You're our other corner. I'll tell you what, I know this. If Shelby County wasn't a powerhouse of Democratic voters and voices, if they didn't like the way that we thought and we voted and looked, they wouldn't be trying to take our power away.
That's right.
Memphis is a town with a rough reputation that it does not deserve. Almost everything that's wrong with it can be traced back to asinine laws from our state legislature. But it is a town of underdogs. We pride ourselves on our grit and our grind. We talk about it. And we have a lot of people that have come through Memphis that have come with just dreams and left as stars. You've probably heard of some of them, like B.B. King or Elvis Presley. The great Fred Smith, who passed away last year, he got a D on his paper and then started FedEx, which changed the whole world economy. Of course, I work down the street from the incredible kids and doctors at St. Jude who beat the odds every day. So when people tell me that I'm an underdog and there's no way I can win this race, I just say, I'm from Memphis, watch me. I grew up pretty poor. My mom and I were recently at the duplex where we moved into when I was 4 years old in Memphis. And I asked her how much she made when we lived in that house. And she said $11,000 a year. We struggled, but we got through. We would say we were just a tuna helper family. We weren't even a hamburger helper family, you know what I mean? So when people are struggling out there right now, I know what that's like. I've lived it. I've been in a place where we open up our oven after we cook to stay warm. I see some heads nodding. So I worked really hard as a kid and public school educated and made my way. I think you're gonna like this part too. I became the first in my family to go away to college, and I chose the best school, the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. say that in West Tennessee, it doesn't get as many claps. Look, my husband went to Vandy. It's been a rough year. He played football there, and he cannot stop lording it over me. But while I was there at UT, I was there during a really special time. My first 2 years, I had Peyton Manning. My third year, we won a national championship. And of course, the whole time I was there, I got to watch up close the amazing, my hero, Pathead Summit. Yeah, whether you're a Vol fan or not, you're a Pathead Summit fan, right? She was incredible, and she taught the young women to work as hard on the court and off the court. How do I know? I had a lot of classes with a young woman you might know, Shamiqua Holtzclaw. Yeah. And here's what I know. Every class, she couldn't wear sweats. She couldn't have her hair in a baseball cap. She had to be sitting in the first 2 rows and taking notes, and the assistant coaches would come around and check. Because every one of Pathead Summit's girls didn't just win championships, they graduated too. So I took that example of hard work and I decided that I would work that hard too. I graduated in 3.5 years with 2 majors, Phi Beta Kappa and magna cum laude. And I became the first in my family to go away to law school. And look, I'm not saying you have to be a lawyer to be a governor, but we pass more lawsuits than laws in this state. And it might be helpful to have somebody with a veto pen that can read the Constitution. It's certainly better than, say, a home ec degree from Mississippi State. It's just a random example. I just like to throw out random examples. So when people tell me that this race is going to take too much hard work, look, you guys are my 117th stop. You know how many stops Marsha Blackburn's made where she opens up to the public? That's right, 0. So I'm already working 117 times harder than her. So when they tell me it's going to take hard work, I just say, look, I watched Pathead Summit. I learned from the best, so watch me. I went up to law school. DC was great. If you're old enough like me, my first year there, we had the hanging chads. Look, you think that was a big thing in the country? Imagine what it was like in DC. Then we had 9/11. We had the sniper attacks. I didn't get my mail for 3 months because of anthrax, and nobody, not once in my 3 years there, offered me sweet tea. Needless to say, I was ready to move back down south. And while all of my friends were going into corporate law, I knew that was not going to be for me. Because I told you guys, I grew up in poverty. And I thought people like me deserved a Georgetown-trained lawyer too. Now, when I went to Georgetown, I thought I wanted to do international human rights. And I went to Africa twice doing women's human rights work, writing reports for the UN, helping women and girls in Africa get rights. But it turns out, guys, I'm a little prissier than I thought I was. And I need things like running water. So I started trying other kinds of public service law. I did landlord-tenant stuff to help people not be evicted. I did domestic violence orders to help victims of abuse. And then I went to the public defender's office in DC and did an internship, and I said, that's it. That's where the rubber meets the road. So when I started looking for a place to land, I wanted to move back down south and I wanted to be a public defender. And I ended up in Nashville as a juvenile public defender. So you've heard that right. Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville. I have roots across this whole state, and I'd be your first governor to ever have lived in all 3 grand divisions. I loved my work as a juvenile public defender. Every day I would go in, and it would be me and my client and the Constitution against the power and the resources of the state of Tennessee. They were children, They were mostly minorities, because we still disproportionately lock up minorities in this country. They had every challenge and trauma you can imagine. And it was just us against all the resources that the state could throw against us. Let me tell you what I was facing in these spaces and places. A case that sticks with me still to this day. I had a client who's about 13, 14 years old. He showed up in an orange jumpsuit, shackles, charged with 2 felonies. When I went back to ask him what had happened, what was his side of the story, he said, well, my little brother's been sick. His brother was like 2 years old. My mom's had to miss a lot of work, and our lights got cut off. It was December. It's dark, it was cold. She pulled big brother out of school to watch little brother while she went to work to pay enough money to pay on their light bill. He took an extension cord out of his window and into his neighbor's window. They lived in like a quadplex. And he plugged it into a space heater and a TV, and he sat his little brother in front of it. He was charged with aggravated theft and felony burglary. What I knew then as a baby attorney was, this isn't where he needed to be. We had failed that mother, that baby, and him too. They needed rent assistance. They needed utility assistance. The mom probably needed better child care, better health care. But having her teenage son spend one night in juvenile detention means he's more likely to end up in prison. We were failing them. So it stayed with me. I continued to be a public defender and fight the good fight every day, and you know what? I never lost a case. So when people tell me that you can't win if you don't have the same resources as the other side, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. I can't write myself a $5 million check like John Rose, so that's why you're not seeing my ads on TV yet. I'm also not gonna be like Marsha Blackburn. I'm not taking APAC money, NRA money, core civic money, big pharma money, big voucher money. I will not be bought and sold by corporate PACs and billionaires. The people I'm beholden to are you. They are teachers, retirees, firefighters, nurses. That's who I will be representing in office. But I know even if you don't have the same resources as the other side, you can still win. So I just say, watch me. I did eventually move back to Memphis. My husband and I got engaged and moved back. He works for FedEx now. And we started our family. I'm now on the city council there. I just finished budget on Tuesday. That's my part-time job. I'll tell you what I worked on in budget this year, just so you can get a taste of where my priorities are. I made sure we had $10 million of dedicated funding to public transportation to keep our buses free. That's right, I did it before Mom Tommy. I also made sure we had $1.5 million extra in pre-K funding so we could extend it down to 3-year-olds. I guaranteed for the first time in our 200+ year history paid parental leave for all city employees. Throughout the budget, what I do is put families first. And that's what I do every day on the city council. Sometimes that looks like big things like I just told you about. Sometimes it looks like my garbage can is missing. Sometimes it looks like there is a pothole that took out my tires, somebody needs to clean it up. Sometimes it looks like there's a house in my neighborhood and the grass is overgrown and somebody needs to go do something about it. I answer to constituents every day. Whether it is big problems or small problems, that's who you want in government offices.
That's right.
So that's my work as a legislator in the executive branch. I served first as senior policy advisor and eventually as deputy chief of staff to our county mayor, Mayor Lee Harris. Again, doing incredible work. I started our first free gun lock by mail program. I started a website called Work to Break the Cycle, where we hire ex-offenders day one, because if you want to stop recidivism, there's exactly one answer to that, and it's a job. We've hired 200 people and had no recidivism. I worked on our first free HIV testing program by mail, because we were leading the nation in new incidents, and now we're seeing it drop. I worked on our first certified Black midwife program to help have better outcomes for mothers and babies. I've done the hard work on tough issues, but this past January he asked me to lead in a different way, and he appointed me as the Chief Public Defender of Shelby County. It's an honor and a privilege to be back in the Public Defender's Office. Of course, I used to be able to say that I was a recovering attorney, but I've relapsed now. But I have a staff of 150 attorneys and others. We are the largest, the oldest in the state, and I think the best. And every day they do exactly what I used to do as a line attorney. They defend our clients' constitutional rights and yours. So I am proud to lead that office. So you heard a mix there of me being in the executive branch and in the judicial branch. So just like I've lived in all three grand divisions, I've also served in all three branches of government. I think that will help as a governor. Now, I did tell you about my full-time job and my part-time job. And then, of course, I'm driving from Memphis to Kingsport on the weekends for fun. You want to talk about a strange job interview that you actually feel really qualified for? Have somebody have a super donkey with a lightsaber at your job interview. This is a wild ride, guys. But I need to tell you about my most important job and the most important title that I hold, and the reason that I'm here in front of you today doing this. It is not for fame or for money or for having a song written about you, which is also a very wild thing to happen. It's because of this job that I have called mom. Yeah. I told you who my special interests aren't, so I should tell you who my special interests are. Their names are Bo, Vivian, and Wilder. Bo just turned 16, and I now have a third driver in the house. Hallelujah. Everybody's like, aren't you nervous about him being out in those Memphis streets? Not at all. Go drive yourself. My daughter Vivian is 14, going on 47. Anybody got a teenage daughter or had one? You know what I mean. She's in charge of all of us. And then my youngest, Wilder, is 9. My oldest loves to go hiking in the mountains. So if I care about the environment, it's because I want to protect our air and our water from the likes of Elon Musk for him. That's right. My daughter now has less rights than her grandmother has. I think that's wrong. And so I'm in this fight for her. My youngest, the joy of our life, you know how it is to have a baby. He's autistic. So while Marsha Blackburn is celebrating the end of the Department of Education, I am terrified about what that means for my child to continue to go to his public school. Because see, I can't send him to private school. They say they are accommodating, but they don't make accommodations. Right. So I'm in this fight for him. And I'll tell you this, the slogan is one tough mother for a reason. I don't think you have to be a mother to govern, but I think if you govern like a mother, you're gonna help the most people, and I know this to be true. Yeah. I promise you, nobody will fight like this mother for Tennessee. Yeah. And guys, the things I'm caring about and the things that I'm trying to work to change, I'm not alone in this fight. I've traveled, I've told you, to big cities, to suburbs, to tiny towns, into hollers. Y'all know where Washburn is? Anybody here from Washburn? Did you just raise?
My son teaches there.
So teaches there at the school. There is one, and I don't mean one high school. I mean there is one school that is pre-K to 12. You know what else I learned when I was in Washburn? Because I had just broken my wrist. The only place to get an x-ray is at the veterinary clinic. It's not funny, people. I mean it. The state of healthcare should not be like that. But what I've been seeing across this state is this. People say the same thing to me over and over again. Okay? I don't want a gilded ballroom. I want groceries I can afford. I don't need you to repaint the reflection pool twice. I need you to reimagine public schools. You don't have to explain people's pronouns to me, but I need you to explain why gas is so high. Don't tell me my neighbor that is an immigrant is taking my job. Tell me why we've had no job growth in Tennessee for 2 years. And I sure as hell don't need warfare abroad. I need health care right here. Yeah. Guys, we can work to change all of that. And in the time that we do it, we're also going to prove that Democrats are the party of faith, family, and freedom. Don't let anybody tell you different. How can they be the party of faith when I send my kids to school every day and pray they come home to me? How can they be the party of family when half of our rural hospitals don't even have OBGYN care? You can't start a family here. And how can you be the party of freedom when you spend your whole legislative session banning books, banning pride flags, and banning what a woman does with her body? Well, we're the party that's going to actually help people. Let me tell you, on my website, not only do I have all the stuff that I've done and how you can donate, but I also have a platform, and you need to go read it. I want you to read everything. I have an AI policy, I have policies for veterans, I have policies for farmers, you name it. We have an agenda for Black Tennesseans. We have got it out there. But beyond that, I have a day one plan, because we're not going to wait around on this supermajority to get to work. We're going to start by making appointments, like an AG that's read and ready to defend the Constitution, somebody at the Department of Education who's actually spent time in the classroom, and somebody at the Department of Health that believes in science that Ballard has over here. We're going to get out of that MOU with Core Civic, and we're going to end all 287G agreements and tell ICE to get the hell out of our cities. It doesn't stop there, guys. That's going to be fun. That's real easy stuff. There's other good stuff that I can do, too. I'm about to get a little wonky, so everybody settle in, okay? We sit on hundreds of millions of unused funds. I'm not even going to talk to you about the $2 billion rainy day fund we have, okay? But know that's over there, and it's Noah's Ark out there if you talk to anybody. But we have hundreds of millions of TANF funds that we leave unused every year. TANF is Tennessee Assistance for Needy Families. It is your tax dollars and my tax dollars that go up to the federal government and come back down to us. And they say, give this to the people most in need. Now, there's only certain things you can use it for, but let me tell you what I'd use it for day one, because you don't have to get the sign-off of the GOP legislature. $10 million, we would immediately work with nonprofits to buy up medical debt for pennies on the dollar. That $10 million becomes $1 billion of medical debt erased for Tennesseans. medical debt is the #1 thing bankrupting Tennesseans right now. And it is immoral that we live in a state where you can get sick and it costs you your home.
Exactly. Yeah.
We will also use 50 million of those TANF funds to clear the child care wait list. We need to start treating child care just like infrastructure. Because if that road's broken outside, I can't get to work. If I don't have a place to send my kid, I can't get to work. So don't tell me you care about jobs when you don't care about child care. We're gonna take another 50 million and we're gonna put it into affordable housing. Do you know how many homeless veterans I've met on my trip? It is shameful. And young people, I know, for everybody who's like, my kid won't get out of my house, I'm worried about it. I told you I've got a 16-year-old, and I feed him, and he eats a lot. But how did they get out of the home? What's the minimum wage right now? $7.25. Look, Arkansas is $11. Remember when you used to be able to count on Arkansas? It's rough out here. We've got to raise the minimum wage, because if you can't afford a dinner at Sonic, you certainly can't afford first and last month's rent. The governor can raise the minimum wage for state employees, but they can also incentivize corporations to do it too. How do I know? I'm not making this up. Governor Beshear in Ruby Red, Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell's Kentucky, he has an incentive program with corporations, and those that have bought into it, their minimum wage right now is $30 an hour. Everybody's like, businesses will close down and everybody will leave the state. I would like to invite them to Kentucky. I just talked to Governor Beshear the other day about it. It is life-changing for everyday people. But we can use that affordable housing money, and we can actually help people get into housing while they're trying to figure out their first and last month's rent, okay? And that's just the stuff we do before budget season, which I can't wait. We're going to take the Medicaid expansion money and make healthcare more affordable and more accessible. We're going to freeze the gas tax. Do you know how I know we can do that? Georgia did it. Where they have a Republican governor. Remember when you could count on Georgia? We're at the bottom of all the worst lists and the top of others. It's not great. After we freeze the grocery tax and freeze the gas tax, we're also going to end the grocery tax. And let me tell you, the question I always get is like, well, but how do you pay for it? That sounds nice. It's not that hard. Billy, who you saw earlier, he gave corporations and franchisees, his billionaire buddies, a $1.5 billion tax break last year. It cost $750 million to end the grocery tax, one of the few states that still have it. We could do it twice over for that same rollback. Budgets are moral documents. You show me yours, you show me what you care about. I care about people sitting down at the dinner table, being able to feed their kids. It's that simple. So after we take the Medicaid expansion money and we freeze the gas tax and we end the grocery tax, we're going to do my favorite thing yet, and that is defund the vouchers and put that money back in public schools. Y'all would like that one. Hey, it's this simple. If anybody asks you, somebody was like, this voucher thing's kind of wonky. And I gave them a little example. I was like, imagine that your house has a hole in the roof and a storm's coming and you save up and you're gonna patch your roof so that your house can be steady, and then you take that money and you give it to your neighbor who's rich to buy a pool.
Yeah. Exactly right.
It makes about the same amount of sense. But here's how I feel about it. If anybody asks you, where does Jerry Green stand on this issue? say she thinks public dollars should go to public schools for the public good. We can do all of these amazing things together and more. We can work on the maternity mortality rate in this state, which is terrible. We can work on increasing wages. We can work on making our state better. I want to ask you, they've had a stranglehold on our government at every level for decades. Is your life better?
No.
Is your food cheaper?
No.
What about your gas or your medicine?
No.
If life isn't better, if you can't live the American dream here, you know, I got this question the other day. They're like, well, isn't it different in Memphis than up here in the mountains, right? It's not that different. It's not that different. Because you know what people want? They want to be able to have a good job that helps them keep food on the table and gas in their car, so they can have a nice home. Doesn't have to be elaborate, but nice. Someplace safe. And they can send their kids to good public schools, so maybe their kids can do a little bit better than them. That's the whole formula, guys. And most Tennesseans can't live that right now. So we've got to work to actually change this.